How Uber made their rate limiter 10 times faster. For example, in lead code, if you try to submit a solution twice, it will give you an error maximum limit exceeded. That's lead code's way to say, hey, those are too many API requests in a very small time. That's rate limiting. High scale services need rate limiting to protect the downstream APIs and prevent abuse. Traditionally, the rate limiters are implemented using mutexes. However, locking and unlocking has a higher additional overhead, so it wastes a lot of CPU cycles. Uber said there is a better way to solve this. It uses a single atomic variable to store the next allowed timestamp. The algorithm is very straightforward. It captures the current timestamp in the old timestamp, then it calculates the new timestamp using old timestamp and time per request. So if you are allowing 10 requests in 1 second, your time per request value will be 100 millisecond. Then you will compare and swap the current timestamp. If your current timestamp and old timestamp value is same, you will allow the request at new timestamp. Else you will keep on repeating this process. Once your new timestamp has passed, only then you will be allowed to execute your code. Else you will need to sleep until your new timestamp. Now this approach gave a massive performance boost from 1 million to 10 million operations per second, and it scales even further with more CPU cores. Where to use it? It's generally used where you are okay to wait for the task to be executed in some time. So for consider background workers where we are okay if the task executes in a deferred manner, or even third party API calls like GitLab, Bitbucket, Stripe, etc., who themselves have rate limited implemented at their end. And even internal services where consider pricing, inventory, critical services, you don't want your internal services to be making too many API calls to them. However, it is not suitable for public APIs. Why? Since each request is processed and allocated a new timestamp, and until then you sleep. Your client may even time out, and that is inefficient usage of your resources. So it's better to use for tasks where you can defer it. Also, it's important to think and ask that if you actually require mutexes or not. Most of the time, the answer is going to be yes, and that's perfectly fine. However, once in a while, where you don't require mutexes and you try to identify a better alternative, this tiny change could make your system insanely fast.